Do you feel constantly tired and find it difficult to engage in daily activities? Do you often find yourself having emotional outbursts or become non-responsive during really stressful situations? Have you experienced a loss of abilities or skills that you used to have? You might be in burnout. ADHD burnout is a phenomenon that's been getting a lot more traction of late, and for good reason. For many of us, it's a harsh reality that can creep up on us slowly and become overwhelming very quickly. It leaves us feeling exhausted, like we're stuck in a never-ending cycle of exhaustion, frustration, and overwhelm. Welcome to my current predicament. I hope you don't mind, because this is my current predicament and because this is difficult for me to make. Because I'm being real and honest, I've written down my thoughts and I'm just going to read them. When we're in the midst of an ADHD burnout, it can be incredibly overwhelming. We might find ourselves struggling to cope with the demands of life, feeling like we're drowning in a sea of responsibilities and tasks. Simple things like getting out of bed, showering, or even making a meal can feel like insurmountable challenges. We might start to withdraw from social activities, feeling like we just can't keep up the facade anymore. And deep down, we might be wondering if we're just not cut out for this whole adulting thing. One of the most debilitating aspects of ADHD burnout is the emotional toll it takes. We might feel like we're constantly on edge, waiting for the other shoe to drop, or walking on eggshells, never knowing when we'll have our next meltdown. Anxiety and depression can start to creep in, making it harder and harder to muster up the energy to even leave the house. To make matters worse, we might start to feel like we're a burden to those around us, like we're just not good enough. As the burnout worsens, we might start to notice changes in our physical health too. We might experience insomnia, digestive issues, or a compromised immune system. And yet, despite all the warning signs, we often push through, trying to ignore the voices in our head telling us to slow down, or our psychologist telling us to take time out. But eventually we reach a breaking point, and that's when the real damage begins. So what exactly contributes to ADHD burnout? One major culprit is sensory overload. When we're constantly bombarded with stimuli, whether it's social media, email notifications, or just the demands of modern life, our brains get exhausted. Executive dysfunction plays a big role too. When we struggle with planning, organisation, and time management, it can lead to feelings of overwhelm and inadequacy. And let's not forget emotional exhaustion. When we're constantly draining our emotional reserves to cope with the challenges of daily life, eventually we just run dry. I've experienced burnout before, so I was surprised how it crept up on me this time. I've recently realised I was experiencing ADHD burnout again. I'm working a high-stress job, trying to balance a million different tasks and responsibilities. I thought I was doing okay, but deep down, I realised I was running on fumes. I started to feel like I wasn't keeping my head above water, not quite like I was drowning, but feeling like I was fast approaching that, like I just couldn't keep up the pace anymore. And then it dawned on me, I'm not coping. I'm way more sensitive than I was, and I'm being easily triggered by almost everything. I was lying in bed feeling completely drained, both physically and emotionally, and that's when I realised I needed to make a change. Now I realise I'm not alone in my struggle. I battle getting the energy to make this video, but realise that with many of us with ADHD have experienced burnout at some point or other. It's a harsh reality, but it's a reality nonetheless. And that's why it's so important for us to talk about it, to share our stories and to share our struggles and to support each other through the tough times. Burnout is real and it's hard. And I'm finding it really, really difficult at the moment. Work has been hectic, to say the least. I shared in my recent Wednesday waffle with my girlfriends that this week I've done more than 10 hours every day, and I'm still not caught up. And It's because there's been people away. It's because the workload has increased. And it doesn't help that I get, comments from other team members about my caseload being lower. And, i.e., without saying so, kind of saying to me, I've got it easier than most. Maybe, as far as numbers are concerned. But as far as how I'm handling that and how my nervous system is coping with that, I absolutely do not have it easier than anybody. Certainly not anybody in the team who's, identifies as neurotypical. I am struggling, and I don't even know whether I should say anything, because that kind of comment just makes me feel like I need to just shut up and get on with it and do the extra hours and let it affect me outside of work. But I don't want it affecting me outside of work. My health is taking a toll. I am run down. I am so run down. And it's really hard at the moment. I don't know whether I should go and talk to HR. I've done that before, and management say to me, go and talk to employee assistance program people, which, as you know, if you've watched any of my recent videos, they're crap. So I'm not going to do that, because they have not provided me with any assistance whatsoever. And in fact, they have added to my stress because I don't have support. I do see my psychologist once a month, and she's fantastic, but I feel like our sessions are being hijacked by my work stress all the time. And it feels to me like an absolute waste of money that I'm actually not dealing with the things that I really want to deal with, and that is working on solutions on how to unmask and how to effectively, live life this side of my diagnosis. Instead, I'm talking about work and the stress and how it's affecting me, and I feel like, I feel cheated. I feel really cheated by that. But that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at. And maybe you're experiencing burnout. Maybe you're not. In the description, I'm going to put in a quiz that I took that's just readily available, a free quiz on the internet, on whether or not you could be experiencing autistic or ADHD burnout. A couple of the questions that I posed at the top of this video were from that. And I encourage you, if you feel the way that I am, to have a look at that. And if you rate within the burnout categories, then take their advice and seek some help. Because the last thing you need is to be doing this on your own. It's hard enough doing life on your own. That's part of the reason why I created this channel, was to share my own journey, so that hopefully other women who are like me can feel less alone, that they're not the only one experiencing this. And whilst I wish I wasn't currently experiencing burnout, that's the reality of my life. And so I'm going to share the reality of my life. It's not all easy. And I'm trying to work out how to cope with it, trying to do some things outside of work that help me to regulate, so that when I go back into work again, that I'm better able to cope. I'm finding that more and more difficult. I do need to take some more time off, but I don't have that up my sleeve currently. So I've just got to get on with it, and that's not the easiest thing to do. ADHD burnout is a real and debilitating phenomenon that can take over our lives if we're not careful. It's crucial we acknowledge its existence, that we face our challenges head on, and we learn to prioritise our own needs and well-being. And to remember, you're not alone. And I'm not alone. If you're struggling with ADHD burnout, or autistic, or just ADHD burnout, I encourage you to share your story in the comments below. I want to create a community of support and understanding. And if you want to learn more about coping strategies for ADHD burnout, be sure to check out my next video. I'm going to be sharing what I've found in researching some practical tips and techniques to help us reclaim our lives. This is part of what it's like learning to live life on the spectrum this side of my diagnosis. Thanks for being here. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next one.